Hi, Misha here, and last time we kind of talked about the features and I gave my very first impressions before firing the new, to me, Walther PDP. This is the LE version as we discussed last time. And I also discussed in the first video why I held off a couple of years before picking one up. This video though, we're going to shoot it. And not just me, we're going to share it with friends and family, get their takes, their opinions. And then I'm going to do a couple of modifications for the next range trip. Just to clarify, this is the 4.5-inch version, full grip, 18-shot mag, 9x19 of course, and it's pretty bone stock standard right now. And as always, I'll put the first mag through it just in case it blows up, which it's not going to do, but that's what I do with all guns, and a few times it's actually saved a little bit of grief for friends. So, let's dive in. Very first shots from the full-size PDP.
What'd you think?
I mean, it worked. I think I was mostly paying attention to trigger. My hands are cold, so that doesn't help. But I didn't. The trigger is nice. I think years of shooting the PPQ have kind of spoiled me on striker triggers, but it definitely wasn't worse than the PPQ. As to the sights, for some reason I can't speak on that. But no, it charged easy. Mags are typical to load. I do like the kind of full-size grip. The texture isn't too rough. I miss the German paddle release. I get it, Americans want the button, but I like the paddle.
So do the Germans.
And no surprise, ran fine. That was with 115 grain brass. The reason I paused there, I was really thinking, kind of comparing it to my old PPQ, about the trigger. Is this noticeably worse or better than the one on this? It's really hard to say. I do think the PDP has a slight edge, mostly in the kind of staging and take-up, not so much the wall itself. They both have the dingus on the trigger. And as I, of course, can't inform you, the sights. So with that, let's hand it over to J-Ro. He can give you a little more info there. But beforehand, as always, if you please could like, share, and subscribe.
When they say full size, they're not kidding.
There's actually one with an even longer slide than that.
It may be a little dark out here for the iPro I've got on, but I'm going to try to actually shoot some consistent groups instead of torching them off. So we'll see. We'll see how pointability works with it. All right, we'll go down and just take a look here in a second, but man, I like it. The sight picture is a little wide in the back. It kind of feels a little bit like, you know, front sight's sort of floating. But I mean, picture-wise, it's real easy to pick up. I like it a lot. It's comfortable to shoot. Feels a lot, well, honestly, it feels a lot like shooting good 1911.
Yeah, a lot of them have more of the adjustable target sights. That one has the duty sights, the law enforcement. So that's probably why it's a little bit light, wider. It's meant for more quick snap, relatively close shooting, not
right, sure,
precision.
And it does pick that up really quickly.
Yeah.
But I noticed that when I wanted to really take my time and get one lined up right where I had the last one, I feel like maybe a little bit of. It's got fiber optic rears, but they're really small. So it seems like a different rear sight I'd like a little bit on it, but
yeah, I bet a lot of people probably run an RDS or red dot on that,
right?
Because that's what most modern precision guns are running. And of course, it's got the spot. We haven't ordered a plate for it yet.
Yeah, and I mean, it's got, I don't know how well you can see it on that camera, but like I said, it does have some fiber insets in the rear. They just don't really catch. There's not a lot of light out here, but they're a little hard to see.
Yeah. Well, we're in that terrible time where
it's twilight. I've got really dark shades on.
And those are night sights. They at least there is some tritium in them. But yeah, between the twilight and your shooting glasses, it's not gonna do.
Yeah, but no, I mean that front sight, when it comes to like a point and click interface, put the dot on it and go. That front sight is real easy to pick up. It presents well. It shoots well. Overall, pretty pleased.
All right, so that was his take, and it really was getting dark. So don't blame him. This definitely has lower and tighter rear sights than this. These are taller, a little blockier by design. As I was saying, I do miss the paddle release. It's a training thing, I know, versus the button. He was talking about the grip. This is a smaller grip on the PPQ versus the PDP full size. What's kind of funny though is if you do insert the extended base plate version on the PPQ, you're getting about the same grip, which I do like Walther's consistency. In fact, barrel length wise, these are almost the same. This is the 4.5. This is of course with the threaded barrel, so you're at about 4.6. So really the same overall barrel length, but of course a different slide. So yeah, a couple of mags at dark there. We've squeezed in pretty good, and certainly not worse than the PPQ. Now, let's see what Fox thinks.
Damn.
So, is that a good damn or a bad damn? Let's find out. Initial impressions?
The trigger is phenomenal. That may be one of the best pistol triggers I have ever shot. It's effortless to shoot, and I like the size. I like the way it fits my hand.
That sounds. How do you like that grip?
I love it. I don't have any complaints. I think it's a very thin grip, and you can feel that when you squeeze it real tight.
I do have the small back strap on.
Okay.
Obviously, it comes with
well, not because of its structure or anything. You can just feel it's kind of hollow. I think if I wrapped this, I know that sounds funny, but if you just wrap this in some grip tape. But man, first impressions, this dude is it's a very effortless gun to shoot. Yeah.
How about the sights?
That's going to take a little getting used to. My target is probably 25 yards out, and it's only a 6-inch gong. I was a little all over the place, but that's really no surprise. It's really hard to see. So
yeah, the other versions have more of the adjustable target sights.
Right.
That one has the combat sights, so they're wider. There's more air in them.
Yeah.
But they also are night sights too.
Yeah, it seemed like there was a good gap in there. Of course, I would just take advantage of this ability.
They are the RDS mount. That's what everyone does.
Yep.
There's even a cutout in the case for it because they know what you're going to do.
This is a great gun, though. I like it.
I like, too, that it's got quite a bit of real estate under the barrel.
Yes, it does. Yeah, you could put really any light that's on the market there.
Yeah, I don't know. There's almost enough space. You could put two things there.
Well, I also like it does have bigger features. I noticed the bolt release is big, so if you had gloves on, there's plenty to catch. And of course, the mag release is big, and it seemed out of the way. It didn't seem like my left hand filling that void was really getting in the way. But no, I like it. It's just really light, so it doesn't have that big, heavy, clunky feel. So my first initial impressions when I picked it up was it kind of felt cheap. But when you shoot it, you start to see, okay, this is kind of a good thing, not a bad thing.
How do you like those slide serrations?
Dude, it's awesome. Especially, I'm a glove wearer. For my first impressions, I usually won't wear my gloves, but here's my gloves in my hand here. So yeah, definitely like it. And the way I usually charge a gun is backhand up, coming back. So yeah, definitely like this pistol. Look forward to shooting it a little more.
So definitely a good kind of dam. And Fox and I have been doing live streams every other Thursday or so, so if you'd like to pitch in. In fact, the whole reason I finally ended up doing a PDP is enough folks asked us on live streams what we thought. Also, Patreons asked, so that's another way to help us. If you can't tell, this is a multi-day range trip because it did not miraculously get lighter. It just, next day. But yeah, he likes the larger grip. And yeah, there's just a very, very gentle curve on the front versus the kind of octopus style on the PPQs. Even the sides are a little more gentle. It still has some grooves, but not as much. Another thing I've always liked about the Walther back straps, since the P99 PPQ, they're kind of a semi-flexible rubber material, so it's just a tiny bit of cushion for your hand. And they have increased the texture, but it's not rough like the old Glock rough textures. So it's a good balance, especially. And as he pointed out, he uses gloves a lot. And I think that's actually part of why he thought it kind of felt cheap at first, because it is a slim grip, and it is a kind of blocky looking slide compared to the old PPQs. This is a much more elegant cut to it, but that's intentional. This blockiness is easier to grasp. It also has a pretty significant lightning cut to it. He pointed out that it felt light. The irony is this is the same weight as this, but it is a relatively large full figure gun, so considering its size, it is pretty light. And like I said to him, it does have a good bit of real estate under the barrel. This one has a couple of notches, but it's covered up by a laser at the moment. And yeah, everyone's kind of on the sights, but putting an RDS on is the name of the game. But so far so good, and that's two friends and family that are enjoying the gun. So we'll keep on keeping on, trying some more ammo and some just more time with the gun. How about that? Alright, I'm gonna get back to the PDP. Fox's second mag with the PDP. Second thoughts?
Just as smooth as the first. That trigger really is a treat. I mean, like, I feel it's a lot easier to kind of keep where you're pointing and shooting at, because that trigger is, you're not searching for it. And normally firm triggers don't bother me, but I don't know, this is a great gun. So far it's a great range gun. I wonder what it'd be like, really being a carrier or a side carrier, or kind of a gun you train with. But yeah, I don't have any negatives on this at all.
So yeah, we both continue to put mags through it, kind of get used to it, and Fox really does seem to enjoy the grip. I could definitely see this being a gun that you would want to shoot quite a bit, train with, you even use in a competition, because it is comfortable. The grip is comfy, especially on this. Even the original compact grip for the PDP, which is the original full size, is still comfortable. And the trigger really is letting Fox feel like he's hitting very naturally. Again, this is his first introduction to the gun, and as I've owned P99s and PPQs before, he hasn't. So he's falling in. There is a bit more of a beaver tail, not a huge one compared to the original 99 style, so that I point that out. And I do like the trigger. It has just one little thing. I can't even say it bugs me, but I do note it. Here's the PPQ trigger. Here's the PDP. Hear that spring? Now that could be the mag. So let's take it out of both. Again with the PPQ. Yeah, mostly the mag with this. There's just a tiniest tenor with the PPQ. Let's try the PD. Oop, flip it over. The frame is light. A little bit more although again it was mostly the mag, and that makes sense because this is a pretty big tube mag. It's got a pretty substantial spring in it. Again, it's not even a complaint, just something I observed during the preview video. It's really not even noticeable when you've got ear pro on and you're shooting. Held open. So the day wore on, and then towards evening, Nephew showed up. Now he had fired this PPQ before last spring, and he had some issues with it. He was kind of riding the slide stop, which is really the same on both. And that mostly was happening when this was suppressed, so yeah. But this had a smaller grip compared to this. I was curious, with more room for his hand on the larger grip, would he still have a propensity to ride this slide stop or not? So yeah, I really wanted to get this in Nephew's hands and see first if it worked well for him, and second, what he thought about it.
All right, we got Nephew here with the full-size Walther. So we're shooting at a gong at about 100 yards out.
Logical and fair pistol test.
Yeah.
Woo! I am trying.
That's what she said.
All right.
So went through a whole mag.
What's your first kind of thoughts on that?
Really clean. Great trigger too.
Yeah,
Feels
that
really
trigger's
nice.
awesome, isn't it? Well, I'm gonna throw a few rounds, see if we can hit the 100-yard gong.
Did I hit it? No, you're hitting low. Come on. Bring it up a little.
Aim any higher, I can't even see the target.
Yeah, so much for that.
I don't know what those sights are set to, but probably 25, maybe 50 meters.
Yeah, yeah. Hey,
That's what I mean,
it's
that's what I said, lame.
such a good shooting gun, though.
Yeah. All right, so it worked well for Nephew, and he praised the trigger, and it really was unfair of Fox to go 100 yards or so out, especially, again, kind of getting towards twilight, dusk. We were at that far, not for these, although they were with us, but actually for a rifle we were shooting, so it wasn't truly intentional, but we thought before we walked closer, yeah, let's try it. Or, well, rather they did. You're not going to get much out of me when it comes to ringing steel, especially at that distance. But, yeah, Nephew overall liked it. But let's walk it up a little closer.
Ooh, I need to get better with irons.
So moved a little bit closer in.
What'd you think of that?
So yeah, at about 25, maybe a little more, a little less yards. Nephew, like you said, needs to practice more with iron sights. What can you say? Zoomers. And Fox is doing pretty good with it, but have to admit, yeah, at this twilight time, having the night sights helped, but overall, it's not the best shooting time era placement. And that was the end of our second day. And you've had input from a total of 4 people. What do we think? The PPQ has been an amazingly good gun. I like having this version where I can put my suppressor on it. It's had a really good trigger. It's been 100% reliable for us. Comfortable grip over the years. And I'm happy to report the PDP doesn't lose any of that. As everyone has talked about, very decent trigger. The grip is as good, maybe even better. Plus you have more real estate. And you have the option to put on an RDS. And since sights, or rather lack thereof, have kind of been the main complaint, that would seem the logical thing to do. So, let's do that now. One thing you could not do with the PPQ was mount an RDS, and that would seem to be the next logical step here. So just pop off the plate, and I happen to have a used Holosun, one of the solar panel ones come in. I thought it would be a pretty good fit for this. Maybe with this, they still probably can't do 100-yard shots, but maybe 30, 35. We'll see next time. That would seem to address one of the complaints. And for myself, there's one other addition I would like to make to this pistol. And unfortunately, while I had it on order before this came and we went to shoot, it didn't get here. And in fact, it arrived a day after we went shooting. One feature this has that this one obviously does not: threaded barrel. So I ordered the kit from Walther. Comes with 3 pieces: thread protector, a recoil spring, not sure if it's different or not, and a 5.1 inch barrel, threaded half by 28 on the end. And interestingly, this has polygonal rifling as opposed to standard rifling. So let's put it in the gun. Should be a straightforward install. I do like the takedown. It's a little bit more ergonomic than the previous versions. Should just slide off when you don't have a mag in it. Of course, here's our spring and barrel. Just press forward. Pretty conventional, standard. Yeah, making sure which one it was. And then put this one in. One thing to note, you cannot put this in with the protector on. It won't quite go through the gap, so put it in and then you can screw your protector on. I do like that the protector only goes one way. It's not a hollow tube. It does have a lip on the end. And then of course we have our recoil spring. So now this is technically the longest standard version they make, non-competition. Slightly longer barrel than the 5-inch slide version. Let's compare it to the PPQ over here. So here they are, tip to tip. Noticeably longer. Let's see how the suppressor fits. So here it is. Bit of a long contraption. Not a whole lot longer than with the PPQ, but a bit. But it timed up quite well. And it actually does not impact the frame. Notice there's room to play. And no problem going forward. I also like that this has taller sights, so that should actually work with the suppressor better than the PPQ. But we'll use the Holosun, of course, going forward. This is a rig, but for next time. This video was more about initial thoughts, just as the pistol was stock factory, more or less unaltered. So final thoughts, conclusions, based on our kind of 2.5 range days with the PDP. 100% reliable. Tried, I think, 3 types of ammo, although I believe it was all brass case. I think there was some SIG 124 grain and some new 115 grain brass that I can't remember. But yeah, it wasn't ammo sensitive. No issues there. We tried all 3 mags it shipped with. They all worked fine. So no functional problems. No one had any trouble learning and getting quite familiar with the controls. It worked just like a Walther should work. And I have the small back strap on it. That's what I put on for me. No one complained, although Box probably would have appreciated having the medium or even the large. You heard him talking about maybe wrapping the grip. But, you know, my gun, so kind of fitted it to my hand and had no issues. But yeah, here we have it set up in the way going forward for next time. I will say, putting the suppressor on, taking it off, screwing the cap on, the threads are very clean, solid feeling. The RDS went on very well, no issues there. And yeah, nothing really negative to talk about. And being honest, if there was a negative, we would mention it. The only things I can say personally, I do miss the paddle mag release. And in the past, I would have said it would have been nice to retain the decocker, but it would have been impossible to do that and have or any kind of red dot on there, because that's right where that would have gone. So unfortunately, that's just something that goes away with time. So moving forward, one other kind of small neat thing. Even with the sight and the longer barrel, this still fits in its original case without having to cut out foam. The barrel comes right up on the edge. Plenty of extra room up here for different types of sights. I know it's a tiny thing, but I like it when cases are meant to be usable. That's kind of one of my complaints with newer Glocks. Gen 4s, Gen 5s. They give you often 3 mags, extra back straps, and that little backstrap tree. But they're squeezing them all in the old style Glock case. And to me, it's just kind of a mess. This is nicely separated. Little compartments for things. Walther's always done a pretty good job. I even was able to put the original barrel and spring up here where the lock went, which I obviously don't need or use. So I can keep everything in this neat little kit. And if I need to go, this is pretty well appointed just to go to the range, I would say. I would say this case is slightly nicer than a lot of the ones we've seen before. Not high-end, of course, plastic latches, but not exactly cheap and cheesy. So that's our initial range review. Did very well. Everyone enjoyed it. But next time we'll try it out with the sight and the suppressor, and we'll see where we go from there. But what do you think? And which PDP do you own, or would you own? Full-size, compact, 4-inch, 4.5-inch, 5-inch barrel? What RDS would you put on? I just put this Holosun on because I had to use one in the store. For some reason, I don't often spend money on new sights. As always, appreciate you tuning in. If you could, again, like, share, subscribe. Join us on live streams. Check us out on Patreon. On behalf of Jero, Fox, and Nephew, well, I'll catch you very soon next time.